South Africa's inflation
South
rate
Africa's national
South Africa consumer inflation has rose
13 years. Hundreds of
South Africa is one of the countries that rank as one of the highest problem in inflation and unemployment. Assalamualaikum and very good morning. My name is Azira binti Mustafa.
My name is Siti Nadira binti Rosni.
My name is Mudina Ishia binti Sain. My name is Karina Felicia binti Gairo Azri. Today's news is the discussion on the inflation and unemployment in South Africa.
The current population of South Africa is 61,512,381 as of Friday, June 16, 2023, making it the 25th country that has a large population. It is also the 24th largest country in the world, with its total land area being at 1,219,912 km per square, according to the Trading Economics Global Macro Models and Analyst Expectations. GDP in South Africa is expected to reach $420.28 billion by the end of 2023.
Consumer price inflation in South Africa is currently 5.9% on a year-over-year basis. Since a lower of 2% in early 2020, it has been steadily increasing, reaching its highest point since 2017. The type of inflation that this country is currently facing are cost-push inflation and demand-pull inflation. As for demand-pull inflation, the South Africa Reserve Bank (SARB) increases interest rate in order to curb inflation in which is to target demand-pull inflation. Annual consumer inflation slowed to 6.8% in April from 7.1% in March. This is the lowest reading since May 2022 when the rate was 6.5%. The monthly change in the Consumer Price Index (CPI) was 0.4% in April 2023. The electricity crisis in South Africa has led to record-setting power outage, adding substantial costs across food value chain. Ultimately, this highest cost of production is passed down to the consumer, raising food price inflation. The impact of inflation in the business industry has been compared after 2 years of the steady rise in inflation. Businesses have been faced with higher supply chain costs and narrower profit margin. Combined with repeat load shedding, unfavorable exchange rate and higher selling rate, every organization has felt the effect on their bottom line. As for the demand of goods and services, 60% of consumers have experienced price increases above inflation. As a result, South Africa consumers are becoming more mindful and restrained when shopping. This leads to the left shift in the economic market due to the supply of goods and services being limited, but demand remains the same. The price of the product or service goes up. Inflation has also increased poverty in South Africa. By measuring real income with the inflation rate experienced by the poor, rather than total inflation, the poverty headcount rate goes up by 4.5 percentage points over the period 2010 to 2020. Trying to inflate asset values or deflate debt will have limited effect as the poor have few assets and liabilities and experience highest inflation than other groups. Allowing inflation to increase will not generate the employment effect required to increase the purchasing power of the poor. The causes of inflation in South Africa are mainly from the price for food and non-alcoholic beverage that has increased by 30.6% over the past 12 months, up from 30.4% recorded in January. The reading in February is the highest since April 2009 when it was also 30.6%. Other than that, meat inflation also continues to accelerate, reaching 11.4% in February from 11.2% in January. This is the highest annual increase for meat since February 2018, also 11.4%. The monthly rate, however, dropped to 0.2% from 2.6% in January. This was the lowest monthly increase for meat since February 2022, when there was no change. As the transportation problem, fuel price increased by a relatively modest 0.9% between January and February, but the annual rate actually soared to 10.9%, the lowest reading since March 2021, 2.4%. Lastly, the hospital contribution to inflation of medical service are surveyed once a year in February. Price increased by 5.3% in February 2023 compared with the 5.0% rise recorded in February 2022. The index for health insurance increased by 4.4% between January and February as the number of companies implemented annual premium increased. The measures South Africa made to overcome this problem is by implementing the monetary policy by setting a short-term policy rate, the repo rate. This affects the borrowing cost of the financial sector, which in turn affects the broader economy. The repo rate is so called because banks give the SARB an asset, such as a government bond in exchange for cash. They can later repurchase that asset at a lower price, which reflects the interest they paid to have the cash. South Africa is also trying to achieve the 2023 budget objective where the mission is to welcome significant reduction in the fiscal deficit relative to 2019, driven by the effort to contain public spending and saving windfall revenue for highest commodity price. As the revenue windfall decrease, decisive effort to reduce public spending as a share of GDP will be needed to stabilize and subsequently bring down the public debt ratio, which is estimated to reach about 17% of GDP by the end of the year 2022 and 2023. Historical data of inflation for the last 10 years are seen here, where South Africa's inflation rate on average of 10 years is 5.72%. Statistics show the highest rate of inflation is in the year 2022 due to the aftermath of COVID-19. However, throughout the decade, the rate has been consistently rising and dropping in between each year. For example, since 2030, the inflation rate is 5.74%, the rise by 0.36% in 2014, and dropped by 1.51% in 2015, then rose again in 2016 by 1.74% until the year 2023, where the difference between 2022, which is the highest inflation rate, dropped by 1.12% as of current data.
The major proportion of unemployment in South Africa is structural. Employment experience in South Africa is largely structural rather than cyclical. Even during periods of high economic growth, job opportunities do not increase fast enough to absorb those already employment and those newly entering the labor market. There are various reasons for this. For example, the rapid growth of the labor force, the use of capital or skill, intensive technology or an inflexible labor market. According to Statistics South Africa, the pandemic of COVID-19 caused a significant decrease in South Africa. Unemployment rate, which went from 30.1% in the first quarter of 2020 to 2023 in the second quarter. Additionally, Statistics South Africa stated that 2.2 million people actually lost their job in the second quarter of 2020. The average young unemployment rate in Africa in 2023 was about 12%. In some nations, the situation was exceptionally dire, the great rates on the continent. For youth employment was found in Djibouti in 2021 when it was 18%. South Africa comes in second with its young labor force having an unemployment rate of roughly 64%. In Africa, the unemployment rate for women was exactly 9% in 2022, compared to 7.4% for men. On the continent, the average rate of female employment was not usually high, significant difference the exact among African nations. So, in 2021, Djibouti and South Africa again topped the list, with women employment rate about 39% and 36% respectively. Poverty in South Africa has increased recently up to 55.5% due to the high employment after the post-COVID-19 has occurred. South Africa employment rate is significantly higher than in other emerging markets, with young employment exceeding 50%. Also, an increased crime in South Africa due to the reason as a means of survival leading to increased crime rate and social problems. High crime rate characterizes country affected by a lack of job. It is proven that without a steady income result import and other illegal means to make ends meet. In this research and statistics, most of the crime from the youth. As for the individuals, the effect of employment has caused psychological distress that has led to a decline in life satisfaction. It was also started by a few citizens that were interviewed saying that it also lead to mood disorder and substance abuse. Through stigmatization, labeling, unfair judgment, and marginalization.
A few causes of unemployment in this country as of recently are inadequate education training for specific job roles. Since the country generally needs more resources for the guidance and apprenticeship, many need the essentials information and skill sets. Limited entrepreneurship is also the causes of unemployment. Significantly, few individuals in the country have utilized entrepreneurial skills and gained financial independence for multiple reasons. One aspect is the need for more support for entrepreneurs. The other is that legislation surrounding the process is complicated and expensive, limiting the accessibility for the standard or less advantaged individuals. Other than that, mismatched labor supply and demand is also the cause. Since the country population is over 61 million in 2023, many seek work to no avail. This value does not equate to the number of job opportunities available, since the job market is incredibly saturated with many needing jobs and little position available. Lastly is high demand for trade union. Trade unions are inherently considered positive since they protect workers' human rights through adequate pay and working conditions. However, many companies need to meet high salary demands and thus let employees go to compensate. The government may, to try and overcome the unemployment, or to build infrastructure and factories and fund private companies so that they can grow and establish company branches in other provinces to create more employment opportunities. Other than that, also increasing access to community colleges and technical vocational training colleges. Implementation of national minimum wage, ensuring employment tax incentive works correctly, and establishing of a national anti-corruption strategy. Programs such as the Social Employment Fund that will create 500,000 new work opportunities in the first phase before scaling up further in subsequent phases, which will pioneer a new and innovative approach to public employment and also fundamental premise of the presidential employment stimulus, which is designed to do a once-in-a-generation effort to tackle unemployment at scale. Historical data of unemployment for the last 10 years are seen here, where South Africa's unemployment rate, an average of 10 years, is 31.48%. Statistics shows that the highest unemployment rate is in the year 2022, also due to the aftermath of COVID-19. As of today, South Africa is known as one of the countries with the highest form of unemployment due to the lack of resources and labor. As seen in the statistics, and the rate of unemployment has been increasing consistently throughout the years, and before reaching its peak rate in 2022, the rate dropped in the midst of 2020 when COVID-19 hit the world. And with that, ends the news on inflation and unemployment in South Africa. This is everything that has been reported for today's news. Thank you and assalamualaikum.